Welcome to LFR on LNK, an opportunity to talk about Lincoln Fire and Rescue. I'm Dale Johnson. Thank you very much. Happy holidays, by the way. Winter weather brings its challenges. That's our subject today on the show. If it isn't the hassles of removing snow from sidewalks and driveways or your vehicle, it's just walking in it or driving in it and maybe getting stuck in it. We'll talk about that too today. Wondering if the streets ahead of you have been cleared and how soon snowplows will be in your neighborhood. Those are all challenges that we've all faced in Lincoln during the winter. Now imagine being a police officer or a firefighter or an emergency responder for someone's health and safety, needing to get on an emergency call. Winter is very challenging for first responders. And we talk about that today with Fire Chief Dave Engler and Police Chief Teresa Ewens. Chief, rare air today, dueling chiefs. I don't know if this has ever been done in a studio before. So
I think this is a first.
I think it is a first.
It's a tie versus the no tie.
Yeah, so thank you very much. Well, he's outnumbered for one thing.
He is.
Going tieless here. I find myself in very rare air, of course, having you both here because you both deal with public safety, of course, but from different aspects. Chief, you've been in Lincoln many, many years. You've had your fill of many, many winters. So take us into LFR's world and your experience from a first responder, firefighter, EMT, battalion chief, now fire chief, when Lincoln is covered in snow.
Yeah, well, winter is not my favorite time of year. I'm not a fan of the cold. But it presents a lot of challenges for us, and the challenge starts at response. It slows our response down a little bit, so we have to be ready for that, especially when there's ice, snow, and those conditions. It does slow us down quite a bit. And then when we get on the scene, being able to just navigate driveways that haven't been plowed or walkways, it slows down. You know, think about our cots, our ambulance cots that we carry people on. They have little wheels, and so it gets stuck in the snow, and then if everything's slippery, it's hard to also balance that as people are walking up to the house. So those are some challenges. And then on the firefighting side, think about when those snow plows come through and they push all that snow off, it often buries those fire hydrants. And that's where our water comes from. All our fire apparatus has 500 gallons of water, which doesn't last long in a fire. So we've got to get that hydrant as soon as possible. And so by having people scoop their driveways, scoop the sidewalks, and then certainly around their fire hydrant, it saves us a lot of time.
Chief Ewens, from a law enforcement, from a police perspective, this is your first winter in Lincoln, first time in the studio, so we're going to talk about preparations, all right? Conversations about preparations. Your impressions of how LPD handles winter.
Well, only being here for 4 months, I would say that, we have experts in our departments, and they know exactly what they need to do for safety. I think, our preparation is really preparing the public in what we need them to do. And a lot of that is paying attention to the small things, making sure that the snow is not by fire hydrants or in the doorways so officers can actually get to a door. Being responsible for each other and checking on neighbors and family members and making sure that they have what they need for this time. I don't know what winter is like, and so all I know is it's 20 degrees right now. I already have my big jacket out. So, there's some safety concerns, and making sure you have those emergency things in your vehicle, whether it be water, blankets, hand warmers for everybody, and really paying attention to the weather. Don't go out if you can't. I mean, it's really about safety, putting our officers and even the firefighters in a situation where they have to risk their lives in order to save you. That's what we want to try to avoid most of all.
The conversation quickly turns to parking bans when you talk about winter in Lincoln. And there are 3 types of parking bans: snow emergency parking bans, snow removal district-wide parking bans, and residential parking bans. And probably the ones getting the most attention are the residential parking bans, whereby In the case of an odd year, 2021, ending in 1, the houses with addresses that end in that odd number, the snow is pushed to that side, all right? So you can't park on an odd side in 2021. Now, at the end of December in 2022, it shifts. So the parking ban is on the even side of the street. Now, if you're confused, as many people are by this, you can go to the social websites. You can go to the city's website, snow.lincoln.ne.gov, and you can go to Twitter. That's at LTULNK. We're throwing a lot of things at you here all at once. At LTU Lincoln on Facebook, and then the local social media sources can help you out with all of this, okay? But it brings up the subject of parking bans. What will be the policy for parking bans through the police department?
Well, of course, we need to make sure that these vehicles are not there. I mean, for safety reasons, being able to clear the streets, things like that. And so I understand people's frustrations if they get a ticket, but you know, there are ways of fighting a ticket and coming and saying what happened. And that's what I'd like people to do. But we need to pay attention to what the rules are this winter. And going to those sites you just advised about is that way of doing that. Understand the different aspects of your community, but also where you're going to be going shopping, things like that, going out for events during the holidays. So we just ask people to be, you know, very thorough in their planning when they do leave home.
Chief, I've been in a big fire rig on a nice day, and if traffic doesn't cooperate fully, it can be a challenge. Now add to that a parked car on the left side, a parked car on the right side, a furrow of snow around those parked cars. It can be a mess. You've got very experienced, very talented drivers, but it really tests their skills on some of these residential streets.
It really does. Snow narrows the road no matter how you look at it, because when you think about when snow's pushed off, it's not perfectly to the curb. So you start to narrow the actual size of the road, and then when you get two cars parked alongside each other, it makes it very narrow for our apparatus. And even though our apparatus can maybe get through, think about, can the compartment doors open? Do you have room to pull the equipment out? And it provides challenges if people don't adhere to these parking bans or don't pay attention to what they're doing. So again, you know, a lot of people don't think they're going to have an emergency and it's not going to affect them. But we'd like everyone to consider, if you're not going to have an emergency, there will be other people with it, and just consider them, because it could actually happen to you too.
Does this impact response time? It has to some extent. And that's so important. We've had many, many shows talking about response time. Seconds count, seconds out of the garage, seconds down the street, seconds on taking the proper route to a call. Winter has to have an impact on that, I would think.
It absolutely does. It slows things down en route to the call. And think about just the increased distance for braking and that sort of thing that people experience. But then again, when you get on scene, when you've got to navigate narrow streets, and then when you get on scene and you have to navigate the obstacles, whether it be snow, whether it be ice, or just cars that are closely parked, it challenges us in every way. So it does slow our response time down. In both our careers, those seconds count.
Is there a difference in policing? I'm asking you these unfair questions because you've only been here 4
bit.
months, and I apologize. I really do apologize.
I'm ready.
for that.
I could do
Okay.
it.
A difference in policing in nice weather and not so nice weather. Let's say
Absolutely.
spring to winter. What are the differences?
You mean my last job or the current job?
Your
that
last
was
one probably
easy.
didn't have that much difference in weather.
No. You know, I think the thing for us in policing is no different. We have to be able to respond to all these calls for service. Us getting there is vital in a timely manner. You know, what stops us from that happening is really collisions on the street. You know, there's a lot of ice that's going to be coming onto the streets. What I do see is a lot of people that are following too closely that may not have enough stopping time. That creates a danger. It slows everything down. We can't get to where we need to go. Our officers do provide aid, whether it be Narcan, whether it be, stopping bleeding, whether it be, all these things, we all work together in order to really make everyone safe. And so that in itself is concerning for me. The approach is we can't go too fast and we can't go too slow, but we have to be able to get to the location in a timely manner.
You offered some good advice when this originally came out. I'm circling back to the parking ban. Make a plan.
Make a plan.
I
Yeah.
thought that was a really good advice to put out there. Just where are you going to park your car? Chief Engler, you were talking about the fact you park it in the garage. I try to park it in the garage whenever possible. Sometimes that isn't always possible. Maybe there's a parking lot down the street that maybe you can, or someone else has a double driveway and they have a single car. Work it out with your neighbor. There are options, and those are the plans you were referring to. What can citizens do to make both of your lives easier in the winter? I'll start with you,
All right.
Chief Engler.
Well, clearly, clearing a path in the snow in their having their driveways cleared off, their walkways cleared, and then certainly around the fire hydrants cleared. Those are important, but again, with response times in mind, keeping in mind that when the weather is, when we've got snow, ice, all those things, that they're trying to stay in when possible so they're not even on the road. But if they are going to be on the road, that they drive with extra caution and they make sure that they give us lots of room to get through when they pull over.
We've mostly talked about snow, but cold. Your folks are out there in the cold, and we know they rotate because fatigue is a factor on a nice day. And now you add cold to that. Talk about policies and awareness on the part of battalion chiefs and even firefighters themselves to get inside, get some warmth.
Yeah, we do have to rotate crews because uniquely, I guess, we've put out fires with water. So what happens with your wet gear? It ices up and it gets very cold. And everyone thinks when they see that gear that it's really, really warm. It's warm in the summer, but it's not warm in the wintertime. So we do have to rotate our crews through and change out gear to make sure that they're not freezing cold, because we get a lot of fires in the winter. Just by nature, you got people burning in fireplaces, you've got the candles, you've got the space heaters, all those fire dangers during the winter. So we see an increase in fires, and our people do get cold. So we rotate them. We've got what we call a rehab unit that we're able to turn the heat on and let them get in there. But you always fight this thought process of, is it better to get in and melt and then be wet and then go back out, or is it better just to stay frozen? It's about a 50-50 split.
Wet from the outside in or wet from the inside out? There's just a no win there.
It's
on
not
a cold
yeah,
day, Chief.
It's
All
rough.
right. Chief Ewens, what can citizens do to help police officers in the winter?
That's such a big question because, we have crime that occurs. If you need help, ask for help. Whether it be you're not getting along with your spouse or your kids, there's help for everyone. And I think the things we want to avoid is really a response. My officers are out there risking their lives every single day. Add winter into that, and it's not comfortable for me, because I know that people actually die from exposure, and so we have to be very thoughtful in our approach, and that's why, we're 24/7. So our captains are uniquely positioned to make these decisions, and they can make these decisions as far as rotations go if an event does happen. But we have to pay attention, and I want the public to pay attention, because they're risking the lives of first responders that somebody needs. And when we talk about parking or collisions, or just calling the police and actually being able to handle it themselves, they need to do that, because they're asking our officers to go out into the elements and really risk their lives.
We don't have any idea what the winter's going to be like. I talked to the National Weather Service. I even talked to the Old Farmer's Almanac editor, and they basically echo each other, and that is that December will be a typical month. January is a little bit colder with a little more snow, and then February hits. February should be a little bit more of both. And you remember last year we had a 31 degree below zero. Welcome to Lincoln in February.
Yeah, I'm excited. Yeah, let's go.
31 below zero. So a little bit of snow, typical December, a little bit more in January. That's what the folks are saying. And then February will roll around and we'll have a lot more. You want to know about those websites? Maybe the LNK crew can superimpose some things at the bottom of the screen. I think that's possible. But here they are again, if you started writing them down. The easiest one is snow.lincoln.ne.gov. There is an @LTULNK on Twitter, and there is @LTU Lincoln on Facebook. So be ready for the winter. Parking bans are coming. You'll need to. Oh, by the way, snow plows have GPS, and you can go to a GPS map, and I have that information here. It's snow.lincoln.ne.gov. You can see where the snow plows are, where they're going to be, where they've been, when they're coming to your residential part of the city. You can find all that out. Snow.lincoln.ne.gov. Now you're set. You need a shovel, you need a snow blower, you need some ice melt. Good pair. I'm sounding like someone's grandparents now. Get a good pair of gloves, get a scarf, don't go out without a coat. All of those things you need to do to get ready for winter, all right? Thank you very much for being here. Chief Engler, thank you. Chief Ewens, thank you very much both for coming in, and have a pleasant holiday. And thanks for watching us today on LNK TV.